And with the magic of editing, no one will ever see this part.
Mhm. It's all about the frame, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You
Mhm.
got it.
You should see this room
Uh,
outside the frame. It's a mess.
does it look just like a mess right now?
There's a mess behind the computer.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about my mess. I'm like, oh, is it that bad?
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. This is like a different, I don't know what's going on here. Like, this is me like in a last minute trying to pull things together, but I'm just, it's not working in the direction I wanted to, but that's okay.
All
All
good.
right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Oil Power Podcast. Today, I've got David Dean Haskell with me. David is the author excuse me. David is the author of the memoir Wounded Angels, which comes out of addiction and trauma. What I really liked, excuse me, I can't talk tonight. What I really liked when he reached out to me is he's not trying to sell a clean, heroic recovery story. He's more interested in what happens after you survive. When life is technically saved, but you still have to figure out how to actually live in it. I'm going through that right now. We're going to talk about the real messy parts of healing, the inner child work, and why being honest about the struggle matters more than making it look inspirational. David, thanks for coming on, man. How are you?
I'm doing good this morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you from, Tokyo, Japan, which is where I've spent most of the last 20 years of my life, although not so much the last couple years, so I feel really good being in Japan, and,
Nice.
I'm grateful to be here. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's great. Well, thank you for agreeing to jump on, because I think this would be a cool conversation from a different perspective of not like, I feel like a lot of the people that sometimes can come on the show, God love them, can sometimes like it's like, oh, we got sober, and then like I hit my bottom, and then I broke through, and then all of a sudden everything was better in my life, and then my bills were paid, nothing was wrong, and then that's not really how life is, though. Like and as I was saying earlier in the opening, I'm kind of going through it right now. I just started a full-time job. My life has been hectic. I'm stressed. I wish I could put more effort and energy into the podcast, but it's just been draining on me. So I do feel you, and this episode I'm really, really excited to get into. So you mentioned in your email to me that you're trying to keep the story honest instead of packaging it as a clean win. Why was that important to you?
Well, I would say, what you were saying about the stories that we so often hear, I hit bottom and then I got clean and sober and, now I'm a billionaire and I have a jet and, and all that. It's great. And I think I don't disbelieve people who have that. It hasn't been my story, even though as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, my life's never been better. Like right now, today, this year, my life is amazing, but it's been a roller coaster, and it's it's the sort of thing where you have the highs, and then you think, oh, it's great, it's going to be awesome, and then you start to crash again, and you wonder, am I doing this wrong? Like everybody, I don't have the jet, I don't have a billion yet, or whatever, and it's like I think the reality check is, life's in session, right? I don't know if you've heard that,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a very close friend who got clean and sober and started to get well, but she had stage 4 cancer, and she had 2 teenage kids. And she used to say to me, and this is really sad to think about, but she used to say, "Where's my happy ending? Because I'm going to die in a month or a year." And then she did
Mm,
in her 40s.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, still it was good that she, started to get well, but she didn't have that, 20, 30-year runway to like start really figuring things out. For me, you
Right.
know, yeah,
Right. Right.
I feel lucky
It.
because I wound up somehow not having too many physical symptoms. I really abused myself for decades, and I could have easily gotten lung cancer, stomach cancer, what have you, from the abuse that I piled on my body with substances and food. I used to be 100 pounds heavier as well.
Wow.
Um, but somehow, I lucked out in that sense. I think, the emotional bottom was about as hard as, suicidal ideation and just wanting to end it all and just my life is over and I've ruined it and now it's time to check out. That kind of stuff was really, really low, really, really disheartening. But, physically, I've had time to start, rebuilding my life and try to make something of it. So, yeah.
Good for you. When you were experiencing those symptoms of feeling hopeless and lost, like how long did that go on for you in your life?
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's in the book. So I talk a lot about that because the biggest emotional trauma of my life happened when I was 9. And then,
Do you care to get into that?
uh, sure, it was
You don't have to if you don't
basically,
want to.
yeah, no, no, it's absolutely fine. Basically, my mom died when I was 4, which was the ultimate trauma of my childhood. But then I learned when I was 9 that she had committed suicide. And so the traumatic shame attack is a weird, people know panic attacks, right? But not so many
Mhm.
people are familiar with shame attacks, although a lot of people in addiction have them and don't even realize what's going on.
Mhm.
And this is a 9-year-old thing where I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I felt horrible. I felt unacceptable, unlikable, unlovable, worthless. And what am I going to do now? And that was age 9. Cut to 40 years later, I had gotten clean and sober. I had started to heal. I started getting into the codependency stuff, which was just as
Mhm.
intense for me as the substances. And I had a re traumatization of that. Yeah, under different circumstances, I got that same sense of like, I'm unlikable, unlovable, I'm a worthless piece of shit, and I got really, really suicidal. And this was like with spirituality, with like all the tools of recovery and all that kind of stuff. And I hadn't had a drink or a drug in like 3 or 4 years at that point, but I was just done. I
Mm.
was just like, I'm just starting over. I'm like at rock bottom all over again. So
Now
that's when the
now
honesty
why
really
yeah, but
came really hard, yeah.
no, I'm just really curious. I mean, so you're coming because people often talk about the pink cloud lasting for X amount of months, typically 3 to 6. But
Mhm.
it almost seems in your story or in your case rather, it kept going in a direction that you were foreseeing it to go, or you just knew it would go, or you didn't, or you just didn't see it going in like a negative direction.
Yes and no. I got the pink cloud, but well, here's the
Mhm.
thing. I was in recovery in my 20s. I'm 55 now. Was in
Mm.
recovery. I dropped out of college and tried to kill myself and wound up in a rehab in the 90s, mid 90s. And I was introduced to the recovery community and I was so broken and hated myself. Um, couldn't form or maintain relationships. I was, defiant. I lashed out. I just couldn't deal with people. My charisma level was a 0. Um, and so I couldn't even vibe with, other alcoholics and addicts and whatnot, to the point
Yeah.
where I just gave up. And like I was like, everybody else seems happy, everybody else is having fun and going out, but nobody wants to hang out with me. And that got me, right back into the mix for 20 years or so. Just
Yeah.
a desperate, lonely. I was a hermit for about 11 years. This is also in the book. 11 years I was in a room, curtains shut, practically no relationships. Family was a world away because I lived in Japan. No friends. It was really hopeless and sad.
Oh,
So when I
that's
finally hit another rock, an even worse rock bottom, I'm like, I'm about to die. Either get into the hospital and figure this out, or I'm gonna die. I really knew it at that point. That it was getting deadly. Um,
Do you
then
care to
I
elaborate on that? On what was going on in that point in your life? I mean, your
which
story is
part?
already fascinating and it's
Yeah.
tragically saddening,
It
but
that
it's
part
also very,
yeah. There is a happy I mean, I'm a lot happier now, so it's not that tragic,
yeah,
thankfully.
you're
But,
here.
what was going on there was just a really slow death by addiction, by alcohol mostly, drugs when I could
Mhm.
get them, um, and so that part, um, that part, there's not much to it. It's really kind of boring too. I mean, I was doing like subsistence living, making just enough money to pay for my addictions.
Yeah.
I was never really homeless or anything. I had my now ex, who paid a lot of the bills, and that was an extremely codependent, unhealthy relationship. Um, and I have nothing but love and affection for that person now. I wish them well. But at the time, it was just an unhealthy thing. So that part is kind of boring. But after I finally
Well,
did,
David, you know, it's funny to me. It's not boring. It's not boring because
okay,
there's so many people just like us, David, that were isolated drinkers. We're very hermit style like
true,
drinkers.
true,
That was my MO
yeah,
as well. I was someone who would
hmm,
just bury myself in like a room by myself and just drink till the bottle was gone, and then rinse and
hmm,
repeat the next day. Yeah, so I
hmm,
understand where you were coming from in that direction.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm,
Well,
yeah,
the thing about that is
David.
that was like my fondest wish in the world was to have friends and to be, in a room with people who like and love me. But that doesn't work until you like and love yourself. And that's where
Absolutely.
all the work came in. And this is the thing that discourages people, but I have to say it because the toxic positivity and it's all going to be okay next week if you quit drinking bugs me because for me it took years of work and it took
Yeah.
years and it was painful. The inner
Mhm.
child work, the healing work is not easy. It's not for the
Hell
weak,
yeah, brother. I
yeah, and
appreciate you saying that.
right? Oh, yeah. No, it's true, it's true.
I
But
I
the thing is
really
that,
do
a lot of
appreciate
your
you saying
listeners
that.
are in early recovery, right? From what I
Mhm.
heard, it seems like a lot of your listeners are in early recovery, and I wanna say, first you have to take care of the survival mode, right? First, you have to
Yeah.
get through a day, a week, a month, a few months without doing the stuff that's killing you. And
Yeah.
this is more like what you start addressing when you're starting to get a little bit grounded and you're starting to have like, a month that's pretty solid and you're feeling okay. You don't just like try to tackle this shit in week one or month one because
Oh my god.
you've got bigger problems. And
Yeah.
I
I
had bigger problems for a couple of years. All I could
Yeah,
think
I
about was
tell I
going
tell
back.
people that all the time. I say, like, you don't
Mhm.
wanna start, not drinking on a Monday. It's already hard enough, you wanna set yourself up for success. Start on, like, a Friday. Just a little microcosm of kind of like the concept you're going for. But, like, I totally get it. It's there's a lot of false bravado in this space, in the recovery world, and it is hard as hell. Every single
Yeah.
day is a struggle still for me. I mean, like, I'm just a podcast man. No, I'm not. Like, I'm struggling just like you guys. Like, every single one of you keep me sober too. Like, every single one of you, and having these stories and these open dialogue conversations with people like David here, it just inspires me to keep my streak going longer and hopefully
Mhm,
inspire you guys all out there too.
mhm.
Um, David, what does it actually feel like to survive rock bottom, but then still have to learn how to live afterward? A lot of people don't talk about that part, and I'm really curious to your take on it.
That's a great question. I survived 2 rock bottoms because I
Mm-hmm.
look at, I have two major addictions and a lot of, like, unhealthy relationships with coffee and whatnot, sugar, you name it. The 2 major addictions for me were alcohol and people in the form of alcohol and you call it codependency, but people addiction. Like, I felt I was okay if you said I was okay. If I'm in the room with you and I look up to you and respect, not everybody, but people that I admired or looked up to, kind of deified in a way. If you said,
Mhm.
"David, you're doing okay," I would be okay. I'd get high off of that. And if you said, "David, you're screwing up. I'm sick of you. Get out of my face," then I would be at the bottom. I would be worthless. So
Yeah.
first, I had to deal with the alcohol. And then about 3 years later, I hit the second bottom. That was the re-traumatization I was talking about, and that's all as in the
Hmm.
book, which really taught me what this depth of shame felt like. And it was I was really low for about a year. I don't wanna say it got better, but I mean, it was like horrible, horrible, horrible. I felt like shit most days. I was doing the emotional and healing work. I was doing the inner child work. I was learning to like and love myself for once, for the first time. And
Which is so
as
hard.
oh my God, yeah, it's so hard. And
Why is it
and
hard? I don't know, but it is.
It's yeah, well, that's just it. So that was I can't tell you which rock bottom was worse. The physically, the rock bottom with addiction was worse. Emotionally, it was the second one, and so, after that started the slow process of, like, getting a grounded, peaceful life with healthy, calm relationships. And also, the other thing is putting into perspective that, we're all messed up, man. I mean, the world's messed up. You're not talking to a whole bunch of healthy people that just know what's going on. Really not. 95% of people are just sort of getting by, not really even looking at their own self, never mind looking at anybody else. And so there's a lot of wisdom to the whole idea of, like, just keep your side of the street clean. There's a lot of wisdom to
Oh,
that.
oh my
But
gosh,
at
I
the
spend
same
so much
time,
time.
yeah,
No,
go
yeah,
ahead.
continue. No, no,
Oh,
I
I
want
was
you to
just going to
finish
say,
that
like,
thought.
there's a lot of wisdom to that. But at the same time, if somebody else acts inappropriately, what we kind of tend to, like, internalize it, especially if you're on the low self-esteem side. You think, what did
Mhm.
I do wrong? Why is that person being unpleasant with me? What do I have to fix? And it turns out, sometimes it turns out, I'll give you an example. A guy that I thought was kind of like not happy with me a few weeks ago, who I didn't really know very well. He told me the next week that his grandfather had died, and he had to tell his father the news, and that he was having a really bad week that week. Had nothing to do with me. But,
Yeah.
me being, and this is also kind of like this self-centered idea a little bit, is like, I was like, what did I do wrong? What do I have to do to fix it? It's just a matter of, like, understanding what's going on inside me, what's going on outside of me. And then you start getting into, like, boundaries and healthy living and not accepting toxicity and these kinds
Oh yeah. I mean, you just hit so many through lines that we could just go off in
of
tangents on. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just remarkable. But I'll try to tie it to one that is kind of leaving a lasting impact in my brain here, and that was almost
Hmm.
like the codependent nature that we associate with the behavior of drinking and low self worth, and
Hmm.
how the insecurity factor and others external factor approvals. They call these like cognitive distortions where it's like, well, all or nothing thinking, like someone else's their perception of you is like, who, why does that matter? It really doesn't. It really shouldn't matter in the end all be all things. But it does, like for people like myself, and it sounds like for you,
Hmm.
what people said mattered, and a lot of the times that can be traced back into childhood, which is obviously it would be a whole other podcast, but yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very interesting thought when you think about it, like how much the codependency nature of addiction can be front and center in so many different areas of it.
Absolutely. You said, as you said, it's a different podcast, but going back to my childhood, I was the scapegoat of the family because my mother had passed away and whatnot. When I look back, everybody was unhealthy as hell. Adults were acting like children, and I was the one who was always in trouble. And, and you didn't have the adults saying, "Hey, wait, maybe I did something wrong." There was none of that. It was all, "David, get your act together. David, what's wrong with you?" And so I took that into the drinking and then into recovery, where, like, for me, it was always like, okay, you by nature, you must be either superior to me or inferior to me. And I need to
Yeah.
determine which one. And if you're superior to me, I need to obey you, like this, like,
Mhm.
commander subordinate relationship, like, some kind. And in codependency talks about, like, controllers, compliant. I was always very compliant and, like, okay,
Mhm.
you tell me what to do, I'll do it. But then my sense of fairness would get tweaked because somebody would, like, abuse that or over control or, like, try, and then at a certain point I stopped complying and I would get defiant and then maybe blow up at somebody. And then they would be like, "Oh yeah, David, you're unreasonable. What's going on, David?" And it's like, here's the thing. This is the thing I want everybody to hear, if nothing else today. Water seeks its own level. It's never a one-way thing. There is no such thing as a one-way codependent relationship. If things blow up between two people did it, even if it doesn't look like that. And that
Yeah.
but just to go back, that really doesn't apply if you're in the middle of using substances, though. Because when we're doing crazy stuff on alcohol and drugs, that's I mean, you got to address that first. So you can't have this conversation if you're in a situation where people are drinking and drugging, because then it's like all bets are off. But I'm
And
talking about
it's
after you get sober is
yeah,
what I'm.
this is all the post. This is all the post, guys. But I mean, it's helpful to start, I guess. Start with
Even if you're
a
sure,
trusted
sure.
person to be like a mediator, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm completely on board with what you're saying here as far as let's work on the recovery aspect of it, of getting off,
That's
whatever the tapering healthy level should be of how to get off whatever you're trying to quit the healthiest way.
mm,
But yes, once that is out of your system and you're on the pink cloud, say, yeah, jump on the couch with someone and listen and have a conversation about let's dig through what the reasoning behind what's going on behind you, so we can help you be more whole, as they say. You do a lot of inner child work in the book.
mhm.
Can you talk about what that actually looks like in real life? Not the pretty version, but the real uncomfortable versions.
Yeah. Well, what it looks like in real life is before you do the work, because when you get triggered, I mean, I'll give you just an example from last year. A trigger that went into inner child was I was in Indonesia and I was having trouble with immigration because they were a bunch of assholes. Had nothing to do with me. It was just that the immigration department in Indonesia, which is a lovely country, by the way. If my Indonesian friends are watching, I love Indonesia. I'm not a fan of
Hmm.
immigration from Indonesia,
I'm very pro
and I got
Indonesia, sure.
I got triggered all the way back to childhood. It's like you're worthless, you're a criminal, you're no good. We see through you, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden I was like a quivering mess. And I was like, like as though I was, 5 years old and an adult was, telling me off. I was like,
Hmm.
no, I have a legitimate reason to be here. I'm an adult. You have no right to be abusive to me. If you don't want me in your country, kick me out. But you have no, you know what I mean? It's like I wasn't acting like an adult. So I did the inner child work. And there's a kind of simple technique to it, which we could get into if you want. That's fine. And
Let's get into it.
okay, well,
What's a simple
basically,
technique?
the simple technique is when you get triggered, meaning any situation which, if you look at it intellectually, you're overreacting. Like, my friend says, "Oh, I'm going to be 10 minutes late," and you blow up and you punch a wall. And you go, "I can't believe they were 10 minutes late." Okay, well, that's an overreaction to something like that. And so, okay, what is this? This isn't my friend being 10 minutes late. This is something that happened to me, some root, you know, thing from before. And so you first start explaining what's going on, but in third person. So in other words, he's so upset. He can't believe his friend is late. He just wants to punch a wall. He just wants to, blow up the world. And you talk about everything you can think of: physiological, emotional. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling shame. My heart's racing. Sorry, keep it in the third person. So he's feeling angry. He's feeling shame. His heart's
Yeah.
racing. All that. You just keep going and building up the emotion of that. And then you say, "Who are you?" Change it to the second person. Who are you? And at first, years ago, I didn't get much, but, more and more, a picture will start to come into my head, like a memory usually something significant, usually something that hit me hard. And
Hmm.
sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes who are you? They're still hiding the inner child. And then it's like, well, why are you hiding? Do you want to talk to me? Are you afraid of me? What's going on? And you start to listen and, sort of reflect inwardly and see what comes out, see what memories,
Yeah.
because there's these frozen, like the one I told you about, the 9-year-old, after being told his mother had committed suicide, was frozen in time, sitting
Hmm.
there in school. It was like the next day, no aftercare, no emotional help. And that part of me never left that day. It was like a frozen, traumatized
Oh, I'm
event,
sure.
which I call inner child. So for me, it's like inner children. It's like that maybe confuses people because people say the inner child, he's 5 and he's skipping across the field. No, for me, it's like these, and they're not even always children. Sometimes it could be something that happened when I was 18 or 27 or whatever, but it's usually a long time ago. Not always.
Right.
a long time ago,
I
and
think
he was really
I think
sensitive.
it is helpful to
Mhm,
when you're doing that, and thank you for sharing that really helpful practice. I think that's really great what you just said, and I think it's really very very beneficial. I think it is really super helpful too to really honestly do picture yourself as like a child and you now talking to that child from that perspective. I feel like the empathy of just you picturing yourself as a child talking to yourself. I feel like that's really powerful stuff that would be helpful. And I totally agree. I think there's a lot of times I'm going through my life where I know there's some deep inner child wounds inside me, and I'm trying to like decipher it. I'm trying to do like decode everything, and if I just figured out this, why my mom treat me this way, and this, and I would be, and then like then I spin out and I burn out, and I'm just like, you know what? It's like she was doing the best she could, right? Or like, my dad was trying the best, yeah, big drinker, but like yeah,
mhm,
maybe he was
mhm.
doing the
Mine
best he
too.
could, and it's just being that
Yeah,
and the forgiveness. I feel like the forgiveness aspect of like yourself and others, it just trumps all because holding on to resentment like that for years and years and years can set you off down like a really nasty rabbit hole, like the one that you unfortunately had to experience. But
yeah.
um,
That's
yeah,
Can I talk on that for a bit? Because that's
absolutely, yeah,
first of all, yeah, thank you, every word. And the idea of child talking to child is brilliant. I'm gonna try that because I've never actually tried that, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because, like, the inner child probably wants to talk to a peer and doesn't wanna talk
yeah.
to some adult talking down to them, right? That's
No,
brilliant.
I want to
Um,
talk to you. Yeah,
yeah. My
yeah.
dad was a big drinker too. He passed away last year. Thanks to
I'm
recovery,
sorry.
our relationship improved, but he never did quit drinking, and he never did really heal very much. And I talk about
Yeah,
him in the book too. He read the book, and it did hurt him. I asked him permission before I published it, and he said to go ahead. The thing
that's
is,
we.
yeah, it was intense. Believe me, that was a lot of inner child stuff. I didn't publish for 6 months because of all
David,
that stuff. Yeah,
David, I didn't start my podcast till like 2 months after my father passed away, and a lot of
there you go.
the reason why I think he passed away was
There you go.
like, it can be, this is all allegedly could be associated with alcohol. I saw it firsthand. I was living with him for the most of it, so I definitely know it had a part of it. But yeah, it's so sad. I miss him like hell. Like it's just awful. But um, yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So I know how it feels, man, losing a father. That's really cool that your dad had the gave off, his sentiment because, like, I feel like my
Mhm.
father, I don't know, he would have. I think he'd be proud now, but at the time, I'm sure he would have, like, ripped my head off
Well,
once I
here's the
started the
thing.
channel. I don't
Yeah,
know.
thank you for sharing that because I mean it is painful. I'm sorry for your loss, and
Yeah,
I
yeah, it's
I
really
want to
con it's
say, yeah,
conflicting.
it
I loved
is.
him.
And the thing, as you said, like not holding on to resentments. It's okay to recognize the facts. And again, this is kind of like later, like a year, 2, 3 years down the road after you quit whatever that's killing you. Not
Yeah,
like day one. But the thing is, it's okay to acknowledge that the harm happened without saying, and it doesn't have to be on purpose. Like my dad didn't mean to do. He's the one who He's the one who basically botched telling me that my mother had killed herself, and he said I don't know if he was intoxicated that day, he might have been.
mhm,
He didn't say it in a mean-spirited way, but he didn't say it in a careful way either, and it
mhm.
was it was all wrapped up in all kinds of, like, disciplinary stuff, and just it was fucked up.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
it was emotionally traumatizing, but he didn't do it on purpose. I know he didn't. I know his heart was in
Right.
the right place, but the harm was still done. And so
That's
knowing both
true.
of those things, I do not hold resentment towards the man. I don't think I go inward when I say these things because I don't wanna tell a lie. I don't think I harbor any resentment towards anybody except maybe one person. There you go. One person's still very hurt. I still have hurt in my body about one person who was very hurt. But for the most
Yeah,
part, like my resentments, it's not I'm at peace with most of my relationships now. And the reason is because I did acknowledge the truth of them and both sides of the story and these kinds of things and did a lot of work on what's my side of it. Am I okay with myself? Do I like and love myself after this? Yes. All right, I'm okay. So,
yeah. There's an interesting word you just used in that right there. It was truth. I mean, like, I've been exploring this word truth. I mean, it's such a ubiquitous word that we hear all the time, and just you think of it and it just kind of disappears in the background. But like when you really break it down, like any moment of your life, you can honestly be very mindful and just stop and be present and say, is this thought that I'm having a truth or a false? Like
Yeah.
it's literally can come down to something that simple when you're overreacting to something, or when you're about to say that nasty thing back to someone and you're not really taking, holding your thoughts in quicker. I mean, you're just
Mhm.
not practicing mindfulness and you're not doing it right. You're just not being present and yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just thought the truth, just the truth in general. I feel like, is this true? Is this not? What, is this feeling valid? Yeah, it is valid. Okay, but what is the reasoning behind the validity of it? Okay.
You
Um,
know, the thing about truth,
yeah.
I try to be as honest as I can be with
Mhm.
myself and with others. But, that comes with growth too. Like what I thought was true 2 years ago is not necessarily still true anymore. And,
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing about myself, and this goes to addiction. This goes straight to addiction. I've been around alcoholics and addicts for coming up on, well, over the years, like decades, but, you know, a lot over the last decade. And I am, without a doubt, I was the biggest liar out of anybody I ever met. And
What do you mean by that? The biggest liar
yes,
by everyone
I
you ever met?
I I lied compulsively. I lied for practice. I lied just because I wanted to test what you thought of me and whether I could get away with a bigger and bigger lie.
Mhm.
I was very dishonest as a kid for safety. This is the thing. My dad, go back to the dad again. Um, I He used to say, "I'm punishing you even more because you lied. You're not a good liar, so you should just not lie." And so what I learned from that was become a good liar. I got really much better at being deceptive. I used to be petrified of the confessional. I was Catholic growing up, and you want me to
Oh
go tell
god,
my
there we go. Now there's the commonality. We just found it right there.
I'm a horrible 10-year-old. Don't they know I'm the worst 10-year-old that ever lived?
Shame
How
and
can I
guilt,
tell,
Nate.
right? But just to say that
Same.
honesty for me now is it didn't for me. I think this was I am a spiritual guy. I believe in God, and I would say when I did finally get sober, I was struck honest, meaning all of a sudden it was like liar, liar. I couldn't lie anymore. I started telling too much truth. I was like telling the truth to my ex, and I was telling everybody else. It's like that had to happen because I think I would have been dead otherwise. Like some people
Yeah.
really struggle to get honest over years, and it's so hard. And I don't have any advice on that because for me, it really went from like black to white. And that's not to
Mhm.
say that I can't tell a lie. I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, I could be tempted to like get myself out of a
Yeah,
jam
you're
by
human.
lying or whatever. But I became from very dishonest to very honest kind of all of a sudden. I'm not sure why. But,
Yeah.
now then I could start doing the work because you got to
Yeah, David, I
be
think
honesty has to be there. It's got to be like, what's really going on? Because if you're not honest and you don't know what's really going on, how could you even have a chance?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Honesty is
Um,
the best policy, as corny as that is. It sounds like we had a
I
very
don't,
similar childhood. It
yeah.
seems like we had a very similar parenting style of, a lot of shame and guilt built into it, and a lot of, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but, like, I'm seeing a lot of common through lines here.
No,
Um,
not putting words in
y
my mouth.
yeah.
Oh,
So
so
you also
so
write you're also you also
can you
write
check that?
fiction.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you. Can you check the note for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I just wonder because I think I'm about to lose power and I want to.
This is my bad.
No, it's cool. Let me try to see how the audio is without the.
It's okay, I can just edit it out. What's up? What time
Just
are we going over?
I need to plug
Are
in
we
the computer.
Oh, okay.
Did the audio just change horribly? Was it
No,
new
it's
audio
fine.
track? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, cool. Then we can just keep rolling. Yeah, I just had to plug in the
Yeah.
computer before we I lost you.
Oh, yeah, we're good. Let me just make sure everything's good on that over there. This is why I needed my setup to be not like, this is
Right.
insane what I'm doing, but we'll figure
It's all
it out.
good. Yeah, it's going well.
All right. I think we're good. It just says that it's just going to record on a new track, but it's fine. And I can just splice
Okay,
them together at the end.
cool.
No worries.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another perk of the Riverside.
Mhm.
All right. All right, where were we? Oh
Are you asking about fiction?
yeah, there we go. All right, here we go. All right, technical difficulties, but we're back. All right, you also write fiction. How had you also write fiction? How has your recovery work changed the way you write, or changed what you're willing to put on the page?
That's another great question. Yeah, so I have 6 published books, 5 of them are fiction, um, with more on the way, and the one nonfiction, Wounded Angels, which is the memoir, and there's another one of those coming, a follow-up is coming too. And I wrote my first 4 books when I was still deep into, trauma, loneliness, drugs, alcohol, and all that, and they come from a deeply wounded place. And I looked at, I never unpublished them. I thought about unpublishing them. I did the second edition on 2 of them recently. I'm proud of
Hmm.
them, even though I write better now. And so it's kind of like when I look back at that, that's the history of me, right? I mean, that's where you're the last book I published back then was right after I stopped drinking. And then I had a 5-year writer's block. And I can't tell you, I was trying to write. This is part of my story too. It was frustrating as hell. I couldn't write anything except like journaling um, to save my life. And I was trying, and I kept thinking, should I just quit? Should I give up? Am I, not a writer anymore? And I thought about that very strongly, but it was like, no, don't quit, don't give up. And I just had literally, it was 5 full years, and I couldn't tell you why
Yeah, I was gonna
it
say,
broke.
well, but that's
Yeah.
kind of like the point of writer's block, right? You don't really know why, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Well, but the thing is, I was doing the healing work all that time. So
Oh,
I
there you
was
go.
learning in style at the time. I was getting clean and sober. I was dealing with my codependency at that time. And then when I started to heal, like for real, when I started to get actually better in like New Year's 2024, all of a sudden the floodgates opened and I was writing again. But that summer, almost right away, I start writing Wounded Angels, and I didn't want to write it because I didn't want to write nonfiction. I was like, nonfiction doesn't sell. Nonfiction's boring. Nobody wants to read this crap. But I couldn't not write it. It literally got kind of poured out of me. It was the story of what I was doing. It was the story of this work, like
Hmm.
in real time. That's how that it just started coming out onto the page. I wrote it, or it wrote itself in like 6 weeks. It was the
Wow.
work as I was doing it. It was like every morning I'd wake up and have more inner child work to do, like I told you about earlier. And
Hmm.
I wrote it. So I wrote it as I did it. I was literally doing the work and writing the work at the same time.
Wow, that's
And
really neat,
then,
man.
yeah, so that was highly affected by what we do. But then the fiction as well. I write sci-fi, and to me, it's like I write the true past and the visionary future. It's all the same thing to me. It's like now that I'm feeling better, how do I want the future to look? And that's my sci-fi. So for me, it's like I don't feel like I have 2 readerships. It's like I'm trying to put it all together. People, what do you mean? I'm a memoir writer. I'm a sci-fi reader, or whatever. But
Yeah.
for me, it's all me. It's all my story, including what I hope happens later. Because my sci-fi is pretty hopeful too.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's good. I feel like it's so important to have a passion like that, just like, an outlet, a creative outlet. So too many people just don't have a creative outlet. I feel like if they just had something that they could be passionate about and give
Yep.
a shit about to the level that like you can express yourself at the highest level, the highest degree you can.
Yep.
A lot of people just don't have that, and it's sad. Where just simple drawing, painting, meditating, playing guitar, instruments, whatever, man. There's so many options out there. Just go find the thing that gets you off.
Yep.
All right, my last question. This has been a great conversation. Thanks so much for coming on. What's something about your healing journey that still feels unfinished or ongoing?
Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, I mentioned sort of briefly when I was talking about honesty and resentment. Yeah, there is a person in my life, somebody I care about deeply, but I'm in a no contact situation with.
Mhm.
Because it's just no good for my emotional well-being. It's not their fault. It's for
Mhm.
my own emotional well-being. Um, I can't cope with that person, to put it mildly. It's like if there was like some really deep healing conversations to happen, and this is all like just conjecture, then maybe I could deal with this person. But the thing is, as I was trying to give you an honest answer about whether I have any resentments in my life, I thought, well,
Hmm.
there's one person, and it's not my ex either. But the thing is, uh, I
Interesting.
don't think it's a resentment thing so much as I still have pain from the wound, pain um, from the the discard, the emotional. This was again, I was talking about like controller and compliant, controlling compliance, or like commander and subordinate. It was one of those kinds of relationships. Somebody that
Yeah.
I like put all my trust into, and the trust was violated. So that's something that I would say is 90% better, but not 100% better. And I've
Yeah.
been working on it for years. So there's that. And then, I mean, man, I just have good days and bad days. Like everybody, there's some days I just don't want to do it. Um, I have some things I need to do later today that I'm not looking forward to. And I was just like, I
Hmm.
woke up this morning and said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with this. And so there you go. I mean, we're not saints, right? We're just,
Yeah.
everybody's just trying to get by. And but then I have some days when I feel really connected. I rode my bike down to the beach. I had a great, reflective meditation session, feeling prayed, and then somebody called me up and I was able to help them really nicely. And then you just sort of skate through the day, right? And sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. My final question. If someone's listening and they're in that space, the one you were kind of just getting to, they've survived the worst of it, but they're struggling to actually live. What would you want them to hear right now?
Don't give up. I think you can get so discouraged and so despondent and feel like, oh, this is going to take forever. It's going to be horrible. And
Hmm.
I get it, that I went through that. And just don't give up ever. Especially if you're feeling like, ending your life, which a lot of people do. That's something that, uh, as I said, my mom killed herself, and I have a daughter. And I frequently think like this woman never knew that she would have a granddaughter someday. That it was the most beautiful. My daughter's 22 now, most beautiful young woman. That's very final. And I'm not turning this into like suicide prevention day or anything, but it's like if you feel despondent, if you feel discouraged, it's okay to feel that way. It makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just don't give up. Just okay. So today I'm just gonna get through the day. Maybe tomorrow I still just need to get through the day. Um, and eventually, if you're doing the real deep, difficult work, it does start to get more stable, nicer,
Yeah.
better, calmer. Yeah.
It does. And it just, don't give up. Like, it's such a powerful statement. It really is. Cause I was with you in there for 3 of those years, at least 3, from 2021 to 2023, right before the transplant. I was giving up and I wanted out. And to say that darkness doesn't have like different degrees of color is just untrue. I was in the darkest, deepest hole of my entire life. And I felt like there was no hope. And saying, and you've been through a lot more traumatic things than I have, in especially with the childhood. And for you to say that is it's just incredibly powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for coming on the Willpower podcast. I really do appreciate your open, your honesty, your candor. It's just, I feel like a lot of the people that come on the show, God love them. I love them to death, but we don't talk about just because you got through the worst of it, your life does continue on and there are ups, there are downs. It's about what you do with what you know. And, now you know a little bit more, hopefully. If people want to reach you, if people want to contact you, ask you a question, what's the best place for them to do so?
DavidDeanHaskell.com is
Okay,
my website.
perfect. I'll
Just don't misspell the middle name, because my same as my dad's name, spelled Deane,
mhm,
um, middle name. And it's interesting too, because I go by David Dean Haskell exclusively because there's a Pulitzer Prize winning uh, nature writer named David Haskell. So it's like he outranks me in Google no matter what I do. So it's like throw the middle name in
This
there. But
this
yeah,
other David Haskell, we got to get him off the ranks. We got to get
yeah,
the
dig him up.
VIP, the real
I
one.
don't know. I'm sure he's a great guy. His
I'm just
books
kind
must be
of
amazing.
I'm
But
just
anyway,
messing.
yeah, you can daviddeanhaskell.com. There's contact information there. I'm easy to find. Easy as long as you throw the middle name in there. And
Perfect.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Substack, and yeah,
All right, Dave. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's just been an absolute privilege. Just having a very open, honest conversation like this was refreshing. I needed it tonight. So thank you so
thanks.
much for being like that, being you and being genuine. It's really cool.
Great. It's been
And thank you guys, everyone, for watching. If you haven't, just please check to see if you are subscribed to the channel yet. If you are, that's awesome. Thank you so much. You rock. And if you aren't, that'd be cool. If you click that, that'd be a really cool way to help me out. And if you are struggling with your drinking and you want to taper down safely, I do offer some. There's limited spaces because I am working a full time substance abuse disorder counselor job now these days, which is great. But time is limited now. So, but there are some slots still available if you are struggling. I make sure that I'm always available. So please reach out to that and my Calendly link in the YouTube bio page, please. And thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey. Thank you so much for being a part of this new season. And David, thank you so much for being a part of the Willpower podcast. It was just a fantastic conversation. Thank you, guys. And we'll see you with the next episode. Many, many more coming soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Dave.
thanks. Well, I had a
I
thought.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit the stop record button for a
Yeah.
second.
Sure.